We got these fucking dorks, these science-based lifters going after kettlebell lifters right now.
What? Did I miss something? Is there a battle going on between bodybuilders and kettlebell folks? I've never heard of this battle, but I'm going to react to this video. In my recent live stream, somebody mentioned that I have to go check out Roman Jiu-Jitsu. I did it, and he had this interesting discussion with Adam, and I'm going to give you my thoughts on it. And if you're over 40 and you want to become strong, fit, and lean without going to the gym, download my free ebook in the first link in the description. It's the second edition. You're going to love it. The Kettlebell Code. Grab it now for free. Good veteran Gregory van Lebe here. Roman Jiu-Jitsu had a debate. It's almost a fight with Adam. And they're going back and forth. And you have this kettlebell practitioner versus bodybuilder athlete dispute. And they have some interesting takes. And I give you my final review in the end. So let's jump right into it.
We got these fucking dorks, these science-based lifters going after kettlebell lifters right now, saying that what we do is inefficient and bullshit.
That's because it is inefficient and bullshit. See mechanical tension and motor unit recruitment, but continue.
All right, so here's a false assumption. Kettlebells do not have to replicate barbell tension mechanics to be valid, because kettlebells are efficient in their own way. You get a lot of bang for your buck. When you pick it up for a spin, we have some loaded yoga, as we said. You have some great mobility involved. We can train the muscles, we can build them, we can burn fat, or at least elevate the potential to burn more calories during a training. And if we are in a calorie deficit, this helps us to stay in the deficit and actually encourage weight loss. We have crazy strength endurance that you can build, especially if you put the kettlebell through a proper kettlebell sport routine. And so you have different tools with different adaptations. And at the end of the day, it's a weight. And if you manipulate it the right way, we get some great benefits out of it.
I have a degree in exercise science. Bodybuilding is for people who want to look strong.
Simultaneously has a degree in exercise science, but doesn't understand how muscles can be on your body and not work. Ah, yes, all the muscle on my body is just for show. You see, those fibers don't actually do anything.
Credentials don't equal credibility, especially if the argument is weak. And dismissing an entire tool just because it doesn't conform to the typical hypertrophy understanding with barbells and dumbbells and machines is equally flawed. You can most definitely build great muscle with kettlebells. Like I said, it's a weight after all, so manipulate it accordingly. And what's also very interesting is even with the ballistics, jerk, snatch, and swing and clean, you can still build great muscle, because when you swing a weight and you have momentum involved in the movement, at the end of the day, your muscles still have to react. Your muscles still have to work, because if they don't, the kettlebell would slap you on your face and you would instantly break and fall apart like a house of cards.
Kettlebell lifting is for people who don't want to be a pussy.
Ah, yes, if only I'd used kettlebell training during my time in the military, it would have made Ranger School and RASP that much easier. Then I wouldn't be a pussy.
Like, bro, we trained to wrestle a bull.
A bull? You couldn't even wrestle me, and I'm a human.
Y'all are fucking pussies.
So now the entire tone from the debate shifts from science to I am tougher than you. So it's no longer a debate. It's a yelling competition. And this is a weak round to have a good conversation, guys. Nobody in any camp is wrestling any bulls. This is bravado. This is anecdotal fantasy. And training and results are not validated by how hardcore you act. When you train with kettlebells, a bull is gonna obliterate you. When you are a strong bodybuilder, a bull is going to destroy you. So it doesn't matter what type of tool you pick up. At the end of the day, it's not that we go out there and act like tough guys in nature or in the jungle. It's to get some solid results and train, look better, feel better, especially for the over 40 crowd.
Human.
Y'all are fucking pussies.
The raw, unadulterated delusion is insane. We're pussies. Not only do I train harder than you, I train intelligently, and I've done harder shit than you could ever dream of.
We can out-sprint you, we can outlift you, we can out-fight you, we can even out-throw you.
Not only can I for sure beat you in a fucking foot race because I'm more athletic than you, outlift you in every single possible lift, but I for sure kick your fucking ass.
Now, both say I can outlift the other guy, I can outfight the other guy, I can outthrow the other guy, and here's the key. You can be the best kettlebell practitioner on planet Earth. If you fight against somebody who has knowledge in combat sports or melee combat, you are going to lose. You can be the strongest bodybuilder, barbell lifter, whatever, strongman, and you fight against somebody who has action skill in boxing. He's going to knock you out. The tools that we use to improve our potential, for most of us, it's GPP, general physical preparedness. And for some people, it's SPP. They use it for a specific adaptation that they want to get out of the particular tool. But the skill at the end of the day, it's not about fighting, it's about lifting. And what one person probably alludes to is that sometimes bodybuilders build muscle, are disbalanced. And now with kettlebells, we can introduce this idea of training the body in a wholesome, harmonious way that every muscle is firing and everything is working in unity. So that's the counter argument towards bodybuilding, which doesn't mean that bodybuilders are not strong. Look at Ronnie Coleman, for example. But Roman, what you have to see as well is you're not just a bodybuilder who just lifts for fun. You're also a melee combat athlete, which gives you a lot of the tools and the skills necessary to then be very good at that sport. And then you can apply and hopefully get the skill and carry over from what you do in the weight room and then apply it on the mat, which is powerful. And maybe this can be done with kettlebells as well. At the end of the day, you have your focus and then you use an additional tool to improve the chances that you're very good at that particular performance. And that's what counts at the end of the day.
You don't want to be locked in a cage with us, man. You'll be destroyed.
Locked in a cage with you? Who the fuck are you talking to? If I locked you in a cage with a chicken, I'm putting my money on the fucking chicken.
Most scientific studies on exercise science talk about or use machines. Why? Because they control for the most variables.
Yes, that is how science is done. You hold all variables constant and test one. Is this really that confusing to you?
And now here, both missed the larger point. Science does study complex, multi-joint ballistic movements as well, not just isolation-based hypertrophy stuff. So you have to look at the big picture. There are lots of studies on weightlifting, and weightlifting has nothing to do with hypertrophy. And these people don't move the weights slow and controlled. They move them explosively. So you can always design a study and base it in its particular context, set the frame, and then of course you can study particular small granular details because you're focusing on a particular aspect, like for example, how fast is the lifter able to clean the bar up? How long does the barbell stay in motion? How much muscles are activated in a jerk? So on and so forth, injuries. And that's the idea. Always make sure that you have a bird's eye perspective by keeping the stuff in frame that you're actually interested in and not mixing up different fields of research.
And if you're wondering what type of kettlebell I'm using, it's the Pro Kettlebell. The best kettlebell on the market, period. We are working hard to making it available in the EU, Switzerland, as well as the UK as soon as possible. We have a waiting list in the description where you can get notified once we open up shop. Check the link in the description to get 10% off your next purchase and use the code LEBESTARK at checkout.
You can't quantify a kettlebell lift, man. The brute strength, the mobility, the instability that forces you to control that bell. Like,
Everything you just said is either nonsense, stupid, or the very reason that kettlebell training is ineffective.
kettlebell lifting is actually a skill that you have to master. Y'all just go up and down with a Smith machine.
Yep, and you also just explained why kettlebell training fucking sucks. We don't need to learn some pointless skill that has no carry over.
Now, skill can mean carry over because what the load does is it requires you to control it in complex planes of motion. And this prepares you for life, not just reps. And kettlebells are very good at this because the kettlebell requires you to counteract and work with it by using especially the ballistic movements where when you understand the skill of a snatch, for example, you always follow a similar trajectory, but at the end of the day, you have to control the unpredictable element, which is the ballistic element, which gives you some additional edge when it comes to, as we say, build a body that's ready for anything. You get a lot of bang for your buck in a very short amount of time because your body has to do so much controlling and so much work and so much strength endurance, especially. That's what a lot of people miss when they train with kettlebells. They think it's just heavy deadlifting or heavy pressing or heavy jerking. No. It's actually when you use it for the unbroken method, you have a couple of exercises and now you swing the kettlebell kettlebell or sling it around for 12 minutes straight. This is strength and endurance. That's why a lot of us lifters, kettlebell folks, we compare the kettlebell to rowing, for example. And now, Roman, what you're missing is if you say, hey, that training tool sucks because it requires skill, we could apply the same logic to a sport like, for example, wrestling. I could say, well, wrestling sucks because it requires skill. No, it doesn't suck because it requires skill. Maybe I just don't like to learn that skill. Maybe if I say, listen, I want to do another sport, I want to go swimming, I want to play badminton. But even in badminton and even in swimming, you still have skill attached to it. But I can still say, you know what, let me just use the tool in a very basic manner where not a lot of skill is involved because I just don't like to learn it, but I want to get some benefits out of it. That's fine. But just because something requires skill doesn't automatically make it a bad thing.
Try 2 150-pound kettlebells. Clean and jerk that shit. Let me know if it's harder to do it that way or on a barbell.
You just keep writing your own counter arguments. Yes, it's easier to do it on a barbell. That's how strength training works. You just are explaining why you don't understand strength training.
Now, kettlebells are harder to control in a couple of ways. The coordination, the rack position, the grip, the ballistic element, and this makes the kettlebell a very special tool, especially overhead because of the offset weight. And at the same time, you can be the best kettlebell athlete. You can press and clean and jerk 150 pounds or 70 kilogram bells overhead. This is great, but you still have no chance against Lu Xiaoyan, for example, or against an elite weightlifter. Elite weightlifters are, from my perspective, the strongest people on earth because they move weights explosively and fast. Yes, it's not just strength, it's also explosive strength and speed. But they move it in a way, for example, Lasha's 267 kilogram clean and jerk. Nobody's going to replicate this just because I'm able to press 150-pound kettlebells overhead. So yes, the kettlebell might be a little bit harder to control, but that doesn't mean that I'm now good at controlling the kettlebell, and now I can clean and press or clean and jerk a 150 kilogram barbell because it's easier to, or the way that the bar travels alongside my body, it's easier to do it. That's not the case.
This is country boy strong.
Said the white guy with dreadlocks who looks like he belongs in a 1960s propaganda movie about weed.
Keep looking at the most efficient angle of how to lift your fucking cable machines.
Got it. Keep training intelligently. Okay.
Thanks for coming to my TED Talk, you fucking dorks.
So at this point, nobody's talking anymore. It's insult comedy, and this is what happens when ego hijacks the conversation, which is sad. We can still have a great discussion, a great debate about what the kettlebell can bring to the table, what bodybuilding brings to the table, what Olympic weightlifting brings to the table, so on and so forth. And then we can have a discussion on GPP and SPP. So am I able to translate the strength and the benefits and the GPP that I'm building in the weight room, that I'm building outside my sport? Am I able to translate it into my sport then? Am I doing too much GPP? How can I adjust it? This is a very interesting discussion to have. But at the end of the day, I'm just assuming Roman and Adam, it's all about getting clicks and views. And yeah, I know it. Sometimes I do that too. All right, so it became a roast battle. And so let's reset the tone and bring back the value. So let me give you my final review of this discussion between these two gentlemen. This is what happens when both sides are not very fond of being humble. Now, what does humble mean? I think you can be confident and humble at the same time. I call it confident. And none other than the great Bruce Lee has the perfect description of what confident really means. He says, I have the absolute confidence not to be number 2, but then I have enough sense also to realize that there can be no number 1. So you can still know your stuff, but you can still approach it with a student's mindset. If you need to scream hard and yell and call each other names, it doesn't prove a point. It just makes one of the two look very stupid. And if you are a little bit younger and testosterone is exploding up your necks into your ears and it bleeds out of your ears and out of your nose, I get it where you come from. I was there too. I'm a little bit older now, 41. So once you get a little bit older, you realize that being a hothead just doesn't work, especially if you want to be respected in a field where there's a lot of practitioners, a lot of professionals out there. They are a little bit older. And when we listen to stuff like this, I still want to find some interesting nuggets of truth, which I think we have found. But at the same time, you have to draw a clear line. Is this an argument between different training modalities, or is it a roast battle? And I think it's one of the reasons why fitness debates are not taking that serious, because we have to detach ourselves from the modality that we're actually using. And I know where Roman is coming from. I know that the kettlebell world seems very tribal. I am inside that world as a practitioner, and there is lots of talk between this is the better way, this is the best way, I should do this, I should do that. And I even belong into that category too, because based on my experience and what I've learned and my expertise, I consider certain ways and movements and certain biomechanical realities in lifting as more valid than others. So the idea at the end of the day, to give you an upshot of the situation, it's not about superiority of the kettlebell. The kettlebell is just a great alternative tool with awesome benefits, gives you a lot of bang for your buck in a very short amount of time, which works perfect for the over 40 crowd. And I am siding a little bit more with Roman on this one, which might surprise you, because I do not like this arrogant behavior by Adam, the kettlebell dreadlock dude. I don't like it when we walk around being kettlebell practitioners, and just because we use an implement that is a little bit different than what everybody else is doing, and yes, it requires a little bit more skill to clean and jerk or snatch a kettlebell than barbell bench pressing or, doing biceps curls. I get that. But I don't like it if we have this superior feeling that, we're the ones who wrestle with gorillas because we clean and jerk a kettlebell, and we're the ones who are now getting attacked viciously by the science community. Nobody's getting attacked anywhere. We're just having discussions, which is fine. And talking points are always valid when we have nuggets of truth inside them. But the way you say it is the key. The tone sets the music. And yes, confidence is okay, arrogance is too much. Funny internet, fitness, Instagram, YouTube, social media banter is fine. Being disrespectful is not. So hope I was able to give you some value with this video. Of course, like it and subscribe. And do not forget to download my free kettlebell code ebook that is in the first link in the description. If you're over 40, I believe the kettlebell has so many benefits. I've already mentioned it. It builds muscle. It trains and requires your brain to be active. Coordination efforts are going through the roof. You get an awesome flow feeling. You can build your strength endurance. You can do something for your heart health. It's great for mobility. Great tool against back pain. You only need one bell and you're safe. Doesn't require a lot of space. It's a minimalist tool. You get so much bang for your buck. You can do so much in very little time. And I want to explain it to you and show it to you in detail in the Kettlebell Code, the second edition. That's my ebook. You'll find it in the first link in the description. I've taken over 2 weeks to rewrite that thing. After 12,000 or 13,000 downloads, I've come up with the second edition, which you are free to download right now. That gives you a heads up and an intro to kettlebell training.